Well, we've got lots of analyses of the long-term economic impact of moving to trading on WTO terms with the EU. That would mean a pretty significant hit to UK GDP. But that's only the long-term impact. It doesn't tell us whether that would change as a result of extending the transition period or not, nor does it tell us about the interaction between changes to trade and the COVID-19 crisis. So we find that there are arguments in both directions. There are a couple of possible reasons why you might not want to extend the transition. Both COVID-19 and Brexit are substantial structural shocks to the UK economy. We'll have to adjust. Some of those adjustment costs may overlap, and if that's the case, it might make sense to get them all out of the way at once. Second, if, because of COVID, trade, travel, immigration, and tourism are already reduced, and perhaps still subject to restrictions, perhaps some extra frictions might not matter that much. Perhaps this is actually a good time to get that out of the way. But there are arguments on the other side. The recovery phase after COVID, it might be precisely the wrong time to make big changes to our largest trading relationship. Businesses will be seeking to reestablish themselves into markets and rebuilding their supply chains. If you combine that with sudden imposition of new trade barriers, as well as a rapid drop in immigration of workers and students, then the UK may find it excluded, perhaps permanently, from some markets and supply chains. Second, the nature of the adjustments required to COVID may interact with the imposition of trade and regulatory barriers with the EU in such ways to magnify the impact of both. And third, simply the overload argument. Business just won't have the spare capacity, whether that's money, management time, or everything else, to absorb a further major shock, the end of transition and the beginning of the real Brexit shock, immediately after COVID-19. It's really not possible to assess these different impacts so as to get an idea of which are greatest. But our view is, and that of most economists, is that on balance, the pandemic probably does make the economic risks of leaving transition in January 2021 without a trade deal larger, but the uncertainties are extremely large.